Have you ever wondered how Rolex became an absolute symbol of luxury and innovation? Today, we reveal the incredible journey of Hans Wilsdorf, an orphan who faced personal tragedies and turned his passion for watchmaking into an empire worth billions. Discover the challenges, revolutionary inventions, and brilliant strategies that defined the Rolex brand. But before we embark on this inspiring story, subscribe to the channel to receive more videos like this and discover how legends are made. Hans Wilsdorf was born on March 22, 1881, in the city of Kulmbach, located in the Bavaria region, Germany. Son of Anna and Johann Daniel Wilsdorf, Hans was the second of 3 children in a family that enjoyed a comfortable middle-class position. His parents ran a prosperous trade in iron goods, a legacy left by his grandfather. With a relatively peaceful childhood, Hans grew up in a stable home surrounded by opportunities, until tragic events completely changed the course of his life. In 1892, his mother died of an unspecified illness, marking the beginning of a period of irreparable loss. Just a year later, in 1893, Hans' father also died, leaving his 3 brothers orphans. Hans was just 12 years old when he lost both his parents. This family tragedy was further worsened by their maternal uncle's decision to sell the family business, depriving the children of the legacy built by their parents. Out of options, Hans and his brothers were sent to the Ernestinem orphanage, located in Coburg, Bavaria. There, Hans faced the challenge of adapting to a new reality. Although the orphanage provided an education, the sudden move and feeling of abandonment deeply affected young Hans. He felt out of place, often treated as an outsider and the target of teasing, much of it related to his religion. Despite the adversities, Hans decided to transform the difficulties into motivation to grow. He devoted himself intensely to his studies, finding in books a way to escape his reality. His math and language skills, especially French and English, began to shine. This academic dedication would be fundamental in shaping his career and future. Hans also began to reflect on his uncle's decision. Although he felt discontent at first, he would later recognize that this forced independence helped him develop resilience and a pragmatic outlook on life. In his own words, "My uncles were far from indifferent to our future. However, the way they taught me to be independent from an early age was crucial to my success." After being sent to the Ernestinem orphanage, Hans Wilsdorf found in his studies a way to overcome the emotional and social difficulties he faced. Although the initial adjustment was challenging, he began to excel as a student, especially in mathematics and foreign languages. His natural curiosity and interest in the world motivated him to learn French and English with great proficiency, a remarkable feat for the time. Hans believed that these languages would be gateways to new opportunities, and his determination to master them showed his ability to see beyond immediate circumstances. Another striking aspect of this phase was Hans' passion for reading. He devoured books that gave him glimpses of cultures, countries, and possibilities that were beyond the reach of his reality. This incessant quest for knowledge not only honed his academic skills, but also fueled his ambition to explore new horizons. It was during his time at the orphanage that Hans befriended a young Swiss man whose impact on his life would be significant. This friend often shared fascinating stories about his hometown, La Chaux-de-Fonds, located in Switzerland. Known for its centuries-old watchmaking tradition, the city quickly sparked Hans' imagination. He became intrigued by the watchmaking process and began dreaming about the possibility of one day visiting that place. As his education progressed, Hans realized that mastering English and French could open doors in the international market, especially in Europe. This strategic vision, rare for a young man of his age, was fundamental in shaping his future choices. Even surrounded by the limitations of the orphanage, Hans began to develop the sense of purpose that would guide his path. His curiosity about watchmaking, combined with his ambition and academic skills, laid the foundation for the next chapter of his life. At 19, Hans was determined to leave the restrictions of his childhood behind and explore the world in search of new opportunities. At the age of 19, Hans Wilsdorf decided to completely change his life and seek new opportunities beyond the borders of Germany. In 1900, he left the country and settled in Geneva, Switzerland. Attracted by the watchmaking tradition and the learning potential offered by the city, Hans got his first job at a company specializing in the export of pearls, where he worked as an apprentice. This experience was crucial in introducing him to the world of international business. Although the company he worked for did not produce any goods directly, Hans was impressed by the business model, which consisted of sorting, organizing, and packaging pearls for jewelers. He realized how profitable logistics and commercial strategy could be, even without direct involvement in production. This initial learning marked the beginning of his interest in business operations and market strategies. In 1900, Hans received a proposal that led him to take another step towards the world of watchmaking. A Swiss friend recommended him to a position at the renowned Kuno Korten, one of the largest manufacturers of high-quality watches at the time, located in La Chaux-de-Fonds, Switzerland. Driven by curiosity and a budding passion for watchmaking, Hans accepted the challenge. At Kuno Korten, Hans started as a correspondent and clerk, using his fluency in English to communicate with international markets. His starting salary was modest, but he quickly distinguished himself with his dedication and attention to detail. In addition to his administrative duties, Hans was also responsible for winding hundreds of pocket watches daily and carrying out accuracy tests. This routine not only enhanced his technical understanding of watches, but also sparked a deep fascination with the intricacies of watchmaking. This experience at Kuno Korten shaped his view of the potential of pocket and wristwatches, as well as providing him with a solid foundation in manufacturing processes and market needs. However, his journey at the company was abruptly interrupted. In 1902, he was recalled to Germany to carry out his mandatory military service. After completing his army obligation, Hans decided to expand his career further, and in 1903, he moved to London. In the English capital, Hans began working at another prestigious watchmaking company, where he assumed greater responsibilities. There, he became involved in expanding sales and establishing business relationships with customers in several countries. During this period, he began to dream of creating his own watch company, a goal that would soon come true. In 1905, at the age of 24, Hans took the first step towards realizing his dream. Together with his brother-in-law Alfred Davis, he founded Wilsdorf and Davis, a company dedicated to the assembly and distribution of watches. This was the beginning of a journey that would revolutionize the global watchmaking market. In 1905, Hans Wilsdorf founded, together with his brother-in-law Alfred Davis, the firm Wilsdorf and Davis in London. The company's initial objective was simple: to import high-quality Swiss watch movements from the renowned watchmaker Hermann Ageler, located in Biel, and assemble them in cases manufactured in England. These watches were sold to jewelers, who engraved them with their own hallmarks before making them available to customers. However, Hans Wilsdorf had a much more ambitious vision. He was determined to popularize wristwatches, which, at the time, were largely despised by the industry. Considered inaccurate and unsuitable for everyday use, wristwatches were seen primarily as women's accessories, while pocket watches dominated the men's market. Hans, however, believed in the potential of these smaller, more practical models, envisioning a future in which they would become the public's main choice. To achieve this goal, Hans began working in partnership with Swiss watchmakers to improve the internal mechanisms of wristwatches, ensuring greater precision and reliability. He also knew that to stand out in a competitive market, he needed to create a unique identity for his brand. Thus, in 1908, Hans officially registered the name Rolex. The name Rolex was carefully chosen by Wilsdorf. He was looking for a word that was short, easy to pronounce in different languages, and visually appealing. Additionally, the name needed to be compact enough to fit on watch faces. Hans never revealed the exact inspiration behind the name, but he chose it because it sounded sophisticated and modern, characteristics that aligned with the image he wanted to project for his brand. The registration of the Rolex trademark in 1908 marked the beginning of a new era for Wilsdorf and Davis. With a strong and innovative name, Hans began to establish the company's reputation as a pioneer in the wristwatch market. He combined his passion for watchmaking with strategic business vision, paving the way to transform Rolex into a symbol of luxury, precision, and technical excellence. Between 1914 and 1926, Hans Wilsdorf and Rolex faced a period of challenges and significant advances, consolidating the brand as a symbol of innovation in watchmaking. During this period, Hans focused on improving the functionality of wristwatches, facing market prejudices, and overcoming technical barriers to transform models into objects desired by men and women. Recognition by accuracy. 1914. In 1914, Rolex received an important Class A precision certification from the Kew Observatory in England, an unprecedented milestone for a wristwatch. Before that, only pocket watches had received this distinction. This recognition was essential in changing the public's perception of wristwatches, proving that they could be as accurate as traditional models. Impact of the First World War. With the start of World War I in 1914, wristwatches began to gain popularity among soldiers, who preferred them as they were more practical than pocket watches. Rolex took this opportunity to position itself as the ideal choice for military personnel, highlighting the durability and precision of its products. This cultural shift drove demand for wristwatches in the civilian market after the end of the war. Transfer to Switzerland, 1919. Despite the company's growth, Rolex faced difficulties in London due to high export taxes imposed by the British government, which applied a 33% tax on goods destined for abroad. Furthermore, growing hostility towards Germans during the war placed Hans, of German origin, in a delicate position. To protect his company, Hans decided to move Rolex's headquarters to Biel, Switzerland in 1919. This move also marked the company's official renaming to the Rolex Watch Company. The Rolex Oyster Revolution, 1926. In 1926, Hans introduced the world to the Rolex Oyster, the first hermetically sealed wristwatch, making it completely waterproof. The innovation was possible thanks to the creation of an airtight case and a screw-down crown, which protected the internal mechanisms against dust, sweat, and water. The Rolex Oyster was a revolutionary advancement for the industry, setting a new standard of reliability for wristwatches. With these advances, Rolex began to stand out not only for its precision, but also for the durability of its products. Hans Wilsdorf's vision, combined with his ability to innovate in challenging times, paved the way for Rolex to become a global reference in watchmaking. Between 1927 and 1935, Hans Wilsdorf established Rolex's reputation not only through technical innovations, but also through a visionary and creative approach to marketing. He understood that to make his brand stand out in the luxury market, he needed to connect the technical excellence of his watches with inspiring stories and impressive demonstrations of performance. The Rolex Oyster and Mercedes Gleitze, 1927. In 1927, Hans Wilsdorf found the perfect opportunity to promote the Rolex Oyster, his waterproof watch. He learned about Mercedes Gleitze, a British swimmer who was determined to cross the English Channel, a rare and challenging feat. Hans offered her a Rolex Oyster to wear around her neck during the crossing. Although Mercedes was pulled from the water before completing the crossing, The watch remained intact after more than 10 hours in freezing waters. Hans took advantage of this feat to launch an advertising campaign in the London Daily Mail newspaper, highlighting Oyster's resistance. The story generated a huge impact, and Rolex became recognized worldwide for its innovation and quality. Exhibitions in aquariums. After the success of the campaign with Mercedes, Hans decided to intensify Oyster's advertising with a bold approach. Watches working perfectly inside aquariums with live fish. This visual demonstration, which was installed in the windows of authorized stores, impressed consumers and reinforced the idea that Rolex watches were truly waterproof. The association with historical events. Hans also took advantage of landmark events to position Rolex as a symbol of resistance and precision. In 1933, Rolex watches were used by the crew of a flight over Mount Everest, demonstrating their ability to function in extreme high altitude and cold conditions. In 1935, renowned racer and speed record holder Malcolm Campbell wore a Rolex as he set a new record by reaching nearly 300 $. Both events were widely publicized, strengthening the brand's image as a reliable choice for explorers and adventurers. Strategic partnerships. Hans also realized the value of associating his brand with influential public figures. In 1928, he collaborated with British model Evelyn Leigh, who was photographed wearing the Rolex Oyster inside aquariums. These campaigns helped reinforce the brand's exclusivity and luxury appeal, attracting a sophisticated clientele. These creative and innovative marketing strategies have not only increased Rolex's visibility, but also cemented its status as a desired brand for discerning consumers around the world. Hans Wilsdorf proved that, in addition to being a technical visionary, he was also a master of storytelling that connected his products to inspiring moments. After World War II, Rolex entered a period of rapid expansion and innovation, consolidating itself as the undisputed leader in luxury watchmaking. Despite the challenges posed by war, Hans Wilsdorf continued to invest in technology and design, launching iconic models that set new standards of excellence. The creation of the Wilsdorf Foundation, 1944. In 1944, Hans Wilsdorf faced a devastating personal loss with the death of his wife, Florence May. To honor her, he founded the Wilsdorf Foundation, an institution dedicated to social and charitable causes. Additionally, Hans transferred 100% of Rolex shares to the foundation, ensuring that the company remained independent and committed to its mission of innovation and quality. This governance model, unique in the corporate sector, ensured that Rolex never became a publicly traded company or was sold. Revolutionary models. The 1940s and early 1950s were marked by the launch of models that defined the history of Rolex and watchmaking. Date just 1945. The first waterproof automatic wristwatch with a date display on the dial. This model not only offered practical functionality, but also elevated wristwatch design to a new level of sophistication. Date 1956. The first wristwatch to display both the date and the day of the week in their entirety. It has become a symbol of exclusivity, often associated with world leaders. Submariner 1953. The first wristwatch designed specifically for deep diving, with the ability to survive depths of up to 100 meters. This model has become an icon for professional divers and luxury enthusiasts alike. Technical advances. During this period, Rolex also introduced innovations that improved the functionality of its watches. One of the most important was the invention of the perpetual rotor, an internal part that allowed watches to be wound automatically through the movement of the wrist. This technology has made Rolex watches even more practical and reliable, eliminating the need for manual winding. Global expansion. With post-war global reconstruction, Rolex took advantage of new economic opportunities to expand its international presence. Increased consumption of luxury goods in markets such as the United States and Western Europe has helped Rolex reach an even wider audience. In 1946, the company reached the milestone of 50,000 certified chronometers, and just 1 year later, that number doubled to 100,000, an impressive feat for the time. The prestige image. During this period, Hans Wilsdorf refined Rolex's marketing strategy, positioning the brand as synonymous with sophistication, innovation, and success. The association of its watches with explorers, athletes, and influential figures has helped reinforce its image as a leader in the luxury watch market. These years of solid growth and technical advancements laid the foundation for Rolex's iconic status, which would continue to lead the watch industry for decades. Hans Wilsdorf passed away on July 6, 1960, but his impact on the watch industry and his vision for Rolex live on today. In the final years of his life, Hans consolidated what would become an unparalleled legacy of innovation, precision, and luxury. He not only transformed Rolex into a globally recognized brand, but also changed the way watches were perceived and used in everyday life. The rise of Rolex as a symbol of luxury. During the 1950s, Rolex continued to introduce revolutionary models that became synonymous with exclusivity. Among the most iconic was the Rolex Submariner 1953, designed for deep diving and recognized for its durability and elegant design. Other launches, such as the Explorer 1953 and the GMT Master 1955, reinforced the brand's association with adventure and precision, attracting consumers who valued quality and prestige. Hans Wilsdorf knew that exclusivity was not just a matter of price, but of meaning. He positioned Rolex as a symbol of achievement, associating his watches with historic feats such as climbing Everest and scientific expeditions. This strategy helped cement the brand's image as an indispensable accessory for leaders and explorers. The Wilsdorf Foundation. By transferring full control of Rolex to the Wilsdorf Foundation in 1944, Hans ensured that the company remained true to its mission of excellence and innovation. The foundation not only manages the brand, but also supports social and educational causes around the world. This unique corporate structure has allowed Rolex to operate with financial independence, reinvesting its profits into research and development while maintaining its industry leadership. A visionary pioneer, Hans Wilsdorf was much more than a successful businessman. He was a visionary who believed in the potential of wristwatches when the industry still doubted their relevance. His dedication to technical innovation, combined with a strategic marketing approach, has transformed a simple accessory into a universal symbol of status and precision. Even after his death, Rolex continued to prosper under the foundation's direction. Hans' commitment to quality and his pioneering vision have ensured that the brand remains at the forefront of watchmaking. Today, Rolex is the most recognized and respected watch brand in the world, a tribute to the legacy of a man who began his journey as an orphan in pursuit of a dream.